patience. We do not see, because you see the enemy could not oppress anymore. He had gone to the limits, he had crossed the limits, he had reached the extreme. I cannot oppress anymore. But we do not see the patience of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. How far can he go? How much more is he willing to sacrifice? That we do not see. Let me mention a number of people. First of all, those people who were coming in the army of Umar ibn Sa'd, and they were coming in groups of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, sometimes even 4,000 and 5,000. People were coming in the army, small armies. People like Shimr had come, people like Khawr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, who had converted later on and had crossed the line from Umar Sa'd's army, his camp, to Imam Hussein's camp. There were people like that who had changed the camps. But more importantly, there were people who were so elderly that were more than 80 years of age. Thank you. There were people, I've been told that I have a lot longer than I have said. I'm not sure if it is a good thing or a bad thing. Should I take it positively or negatively? I've seen in the past people say, repeat please, like in Urdu and in Farsi and other languages say, mukarrar, repeat please. So a person was very excited and he went back and repeated it. So the third time they told him to repeat. The fourth time he said, well, if you allow me, I have some new material and I'll give you something new. So an elderly person stood up and said, no, first recite this properly and then you'll be able to go to new material. So I'm not sure if it is a negative sign or a positive sign. However, I'll take it as positively. I'll not tell you why. There are no secrets on this paper. Brothers, Karbala is Imam Hussain alayhi salam's place, where Imam Hussain alayhi salam is smiling at all times. The surety that he has, let me give you an incident. On the day of Ashura, even after all of those incidents that took place, he comes back and says, I would like to rest a while. I promise you, if there are that many bodies lying dead in front of your eyes, you will not rest in peace, only if you had surety and certainty in the Almighty Allah. He is so sure that Allah is on his side. He does not care how many enemies he has. 30,000, bring 30 million. But Hussein will still stand up against oppression, no matter how many people are on the other side. Look at Karbala. Firstly, this person who's coming on the 2nd of Muharram called Khur, he brings an army of about 1,000 people. Now the figures will be matching Tabari's. Can I move back? You see, we are used to screaming. I'll not tell you a truth, but not at our families. Surely not at our families, because they scream at us. They have more power in the house. However, at times, whenever we get the microphone, we like to get excited and make sure that we can convey the message across. Sometimes people may not be aware and not be awake, so screaming helps in waking them up. Lastly, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, being the strongest person and the strongest man, not physically, but in faith, psychologically, he has the most power. This man who does not care who comes, an army of 1,000 people approaches. Brothers, this man, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, is waiting for this person to come and says to his brother Abbas and says, feed all of these people, give them water. Will we be able to do that with our enemy? Imam Hussain has the strength and the courage to do that. What was missing in Karbala? Have you ever noticed? They had thirst. That is most commonly mentioned. But you see, the army which Khur had made sure to push back was not just from the river, but from the river banks where they had grass. Why? Because in an army in olden days, the horse itself was half a soldier. It would help you to fight. If the horses had no grass, they would be weak. They'll not be able to carry you properly to the enemy. So they made sure that not only the people are weak because they don't have water to drink, but also the animals, the horses and the camel do not have enough grass to eat. So they push them back. They push them so far back, so there is no grass, there is no water. And that's why even the animals were making noises, because they were all hungry. When mentioning the sad part of Karbala, many people think, why do we cry when mentioning Karbala? Before I say anything, I'll mention the story from Sahih Tirmidhi or Jami' Tirmidhi, one of the major books of hadith of our Sunni brothers, one of the major 6 books of hadith. In that the Holy Prophet says to his wife, Hazrat Salma radiyallahu anha, that Salma, because she was the wife of the Holy Prophet who loved Imam Hussein the most. Why? Because after Imam Hussein's birth, she had helped Imam Hussein's mother Fatima salamullahi alayha to nurture Imam Hussein alayhi salam. She said to Hazrat Fatima that you have 2 sons now, I'll help you with 1 son. Because she had helped him bring him up, he was very attached to Hazrat Salma. And this was a wife that Imam Hussein went to before he went to Karbala and said, oh grandmother, I'm leaving for Karbala. She started crying. She said, this sounds, the sound of Karbala does not please me, O grandson. Your grandfather, the Prophet, mentioned that an incident in the plains of Karbala will take place which I do not wish to hear. He said, oh grandmother, I promise you that incident is coming closer. The promise that my grandfather made with you will be made certain very soon. She says in Jami' Tirmidhi that in the plains of Karbala, I was not present, I was in Medina. On the 10th of Muharram, it is a common practice to sleep in the afternoon in the Middle Eastern countries. She says, I was asleep in the afternoon and I saw the Holy Prophet. He did not have his turban on his head and he had some dust in his head. He had some blood in his beard and he was crying. I said, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, what cries you? What makes you cry? Why are you weeping? He said, O Salma, have you forgotten? I told you, my grandson Hussein will be killed in the plains of Karbala. Today in this Asr, this afternoon, the 10th of Muharram, my grandson Hussein has been killed. She says, I woke up and I found that it was the afternoon. The Holy Prophet had given me some dust from the plains of Karbala in Jami' Tirmidhi. He mentions that the Holy Prophet had said, Man ra'ani faqad ra'ani fa inna shaytana la yumathilu bi. Whoever sees me will surely see me in his dream, because the shaitan and Satan is not allowed to come in my shape. So if you see the Holy Prophet, it is a prophet. She says, I picked up that little bottle where I had kept that dust. When I picked it up, there was blood in it, which the Holy Prophet had already indicated upon. That, O Salma, when this dust changes into blood, then be sure that my grandson Hussein has been killed. She cried and she wept over Imam Hussein's death and his martyrdom. Brothers, I cannot go into the details of every person who was killed in the plains of Karbala. Imam Hussein had 2 sons that he lost that are mentioned by everyone. One is called Ali Akbar. There is a difference of opinion how old he may have been in the plains of Karbala. There are some people who mention that he was 27 and others who say he was 18. Nevertheless, he was a young person who was very beloved to Imam Hussein. Not because he was his